I wanted to look at the way these putties worked out. This is the solvent base that was just Ace Natural. Where it's dried, it's too yellow, I think, for the hickory, and too orange where it hasn't dried. The other side, the oak is fairly close, but this American whatever it was, it hasn't dried completely, but where it has, where the thin areas along the edges have dried, it almost matches perfectly. The oak's close, but not as close, I don't think. I think I'm going to fill, well, I'll sand it first to see, but then I think I'll fill if it looks as good sand as it does here. I think I'll fill with this one because it is the closest. If not that, it would be the oak. But that's where we're at for now. I'll get back to this later this afternoon or evening. Well, I got impatient. I don't foresee myself using this one. The color's just too light, but I'm still gonna sand this a little bit. Yeah, that's too light against the grain. Now I'm gonna see about sanding these and see how they look after they've been sanded a bit. I don't know. Maybe I've got a lot of tack, a lot of sawdust still. This one was still fairly damp. I do like the color, but I don't think it's quite right. I think that the oak is closer. And after yesterday, I've got a couple coins jingling in my pocket, no paper. So I've got to be careful on what more I spend. I think it may be the oak. Unless this dries more and lightens considerably, that's too dark. Let's see. Even wetting the wood, it's too dark, but it still needs to dry. The oak actually looks better when I wet the wood. Well, I'm gonna let it wait and see. I just wanted to do that. This may lighten as it dries further. This one's a definite no. That's still, I can see a lot of potential for those key shavings, but it just doesn't match well enough the brass rod to do it there. But I can totally see ideas are popping into my somewhat artistic brain. We'll get back to it later. It's too hot. Just heard that the forecast for the next week is all triple digits, so it's going to be a fun one. And I've been putting off mowing. I haven't done it in 2 weeks, so I've got to head over to Mom's and mow her yard at some point. It's definitely in need. But I'll get back to it this evening, and we'll see how the colors work out. The sun's still out, but I thought it would be best to put a little bit of putty on a few places so that I could actually work it later while I'm doing a video. I ended up going with the golden oak, as it was the consensus by who these belong to that they liked that best. I'll be sanding that down and doing some hand shaping on hand sanding and continue shaping on both of these later this evening. For now, I'm just hoping that the putty will dry in time for me to do that. I realize it's a little late for this project, but trying to get the putty in that I had, it was just too hard. So I did a search and I actually found a YouTube video by Dirt Farmer J at dirtfarmerj.com that was called Softening Hardened Minwax Wood Putty. And what they said to do was take it out. They said use a screwdriver and take it out. Maybe. Well, what they said to do is take it out and then put just cut 2 or 3 drops of vegetable oil. They recommended canola into it. I can't get it out, but if you notice that little shine there, I did put some few drops of canola oil into both the what is this one? Golden Oak and the Early American. The Early American's actually a little softer. It might come out. I was going to put it in my pine, but the pine is still the factory seal on it. He said once you get it out, he just did it on his bench, but mine's not as clean as his was. He said you just work it. Basically, squeeze the putty and get that oil to mix in. I'm gonna maybe see if I can figure out how to link. I'm still relatively new to YouTube, so still learning a lot. Maybe the Creator Studio, if I can figure out how to start there instead of just the Upload Manager. That's already softening. There's still a hard spot, probably from where it was at the bottom, since I put the canola oil on the top. And you can see this is already much softer and more pliable. Would definitely work much easier than it did when I was trying to use it. But I'm glad I found that. Shout out there to Dirt Farmer J. And I'm going to make sure I get the lid on tight. And now that I know how, I'm going to keep my putties conditioned. And since I've got this out, just some wax paper I did, I'm going to flip it over and see about digging out my golden oak. I'm going to clean the tip of my screwdriver here, get the Early American off of it. And like I say, this is definitely after the fact. However, it's still a good tip to know, and I'm glad I found it on Dirt Farmer Joe's YouTube. Oh, that's not good. That took long enough to get out. I'm going to see if I can knead in that vegetable oil that I put on the top now. May need to get another couple drops. This is really hard. You may recall, if you saw my Rusty Tools video, that I don't like having oily or gritty or greasy hands. So I have a paper towel here for after this. This is not what's in this. This is actually canola oil. I just like the size of this bottle. It's just convenient. Keep on the counter and put a bigger one in the pantry. Leaving this sitting out on the counter, on the bench while I was getting that, probably wasn't the best idea, but it is working better, adding that little bit more oil. I'm going to add a little bit more even. Well, this definitely needs more conditioning. However, now that I've found Dirt Farmer Jay's tip on how to do it, I'll work on keeping these up. Now I've really got to go get my hands clean. Well, tonight's a little bit interesting. I just had to walk away and go help my mom, but that's why I'm here, is to help her. I'm gonna try running over this. It feels dry now. Of course, it was pretty dry when I put it on. With some 220 grit, and see if I can get that sanded out. Not sure how much I'm gonna manage to get done tonight, but we'll have to wait and see how it goes. That most of the putty was too dry to actually work into the around those pins. I think I'm going to work on conditioning my putty some more. Pardon me. And see about applying some more. Just a thought. Well, I've been through some emergencies in my life. I grew up, moved around. I've been in areas with tornadoes, earthquakes, etc., excessive snow, whatnot. I've never had to deal with personally what the people in Texas are going through with Hurricane Harvey. However, in the past, I have worked with FEMA, and I actually deal with it still to this day. Having to deal with the people every day for many weeks, talking about what all they've lost. And I actually can't watch the news anymore, because it's like they try to get the tears on, kind of like the old Don Henley song, Dirty Laundry. But because of my experience with dealing with the people that did suffer from that, I am aware of what people go through. And I want everyone out there to know, those that may be suffering due to the effects of the hurricane and the rain, the flooding, that I do feel for you. I think I'm gonna call it a night. I've actually got to go help my mom. She's having somewhat of a bad evening, and I need to get these putties conditioned, particularly this golden oak, which was the choice for filling my oopses on these. Thank you all for watching. Thanks again to Dirt Farmer Jay for the tip on conditioning the wood putty, and God bless all those out there that are dealing with this natural disaster in the central United States and Texas particularly. If you like, you know what to do. Take care. I came over to Mom's to mow and noticed this wet. It's almost, well, it is muddy almost. But you can see where the sprinklers have hit. Then I got to this side, and you can actually see where the water has run because there's been so much of it. Something wrong with the sprinklers. But I still gotta mow. I'm still mowing, but I had my camera in my pocket. I did a series, well, not a series, I did a video talking about some trees my mom had, the Chinese Empress. I don't remember the Latin name for them. Well, there were 3 of them at Mom's house, and they took one out here. However, they sprout up from the root, and as you can see, I've been attempting to try to keep the sprouts down with the use of actually a Ryobi 1 Plus trimmer, and I know it's not the name brand, but basically a weed eater. But it's not working, so I actually researched, or actually I had a friend help me research, Sarah helped me at the library, the way to kill these, because they're just not dying. I thought taking the green off and so they couldn't do photosynthesis would make it so they'd die, but it's not working. It actually said the only way to get rid of these is with an herbicide, and they recommended Roundup. I told my mom's husband that. He wasn't really too thrilled with the idea of using Roundup, although I remembered an old farmer told me one time that there's a great thing called 2,4-D, which is a broadleaf killer, and if anybody saw that video that I did previously, these are definitely a broadleaf tree. Some of them can be 12 inches or more across, but that was just a thought that came to me while I was getting ready to traipse over this area, and I thought I'd share that because I'd actually thought about it in the past. I'm still mowing. I just thought I'd show an example of the size of these leaves, and these are actually small leaves. They can get considerably bigger, but I got to get back to mowing. The sun's almost down and I've still got 20 or 30 minutes left to go. Well, it's officially dark now. Well, dusk. I just got done circling Mom's pecan tree. Bella and I are out here finishing up the yard. I was thinking as I was mowing about some channels that I watch, on YouTube. Actually, I was thinking that this grass was too long, and I couldn't even blame rain for it being that. It's just me being too occupied with YouTube, my own channel. And that got me thinking about a few channels I watch somewhat indirectly. I'm actually a subscriber, I think, on 2 of them. Wrangler Star, an easy one to remember. Also, Pure Living for Life. And the other one I have no idea the name of the channel. I'm going to quit pushing the lawnmower. It's got some squeaks and everything. It's noisy. But the 3rd channel is a guy in Arizona that's been building cisterns and putting in cisterns and water control. They live in a tiny home and have an off-grid solar. And it just makes me think how much I'd enjoy doing what some of those, or what those people and others have done, and get some property and do some homesteading. While my ideas vary from theirs, to some degree, all of them, the least of which would be Wrangler Star, but that's beside the point. I still think it would be interesting to have the finances to do something like what they do. It would be really nice to homestead and have a companion to do it with, like Pure Living for Life, the couple there, or Wrangler Star and Mrs. W and Jack. But for the moment, I'm where I'm at, and I actually kind of feel somewhat obligated to continue helping my mom. Her health is not great, and she's had problems with her vision that are irreversible. Actually, she's going in next Tuesday and the Tuesday after that, the first 2 Tuesdays in September, to have cataracts removed so that she doesn't lose what little sight she still has remaining. And on that note, got the lawn mowed. Probably gonna have to do it again in a few days because it was too long, but did get that done. Now I gotta get in the shower and de-green. Well, some people have green thumbs. I have green feet. I don't know if that showed or not because I couldn't see the camera. Hey, thanks for watching. If you feel interested in doing so, check out my video on the Chinese Empress tree. It is a beautiful tree, even if it is considered to be an invasive species. It's just a dirty tree, and it's a garbage tree. It's really weak, constantly having to cut up limbs that end up on mom's lawn and whatnot. But again, thanks for watching. Have a great night. Take care.